In most competitive activities, consistency is a highly valued trait. After all, we wouldn't necessarily call this guy a high-level competitor.
I don't mean to brag,
but I took a game off of Goblin's Pikachu today.
so I'm basically a top shulk.
Sure, you may have been able to take a game off of your opponent, but what about a set? What about multiple sets? We consider players to be at a top level when they can consistently beat a wide majority of players, and only lose to players who can do the same. But how can we be more consistent? While there are multiple factors to this one problem, we at YSAN can help you understand one piece of the puzzle. Unless you are unrealistically better than your opponent though, it's impossible to control the match 100% of the time. We can, however, put the match in our favor by consistently making good decisions. This is easier said than done though, because if it was so easy, we would all be MKLeo. Our attacks all have rewards associated with them. After all, you could possibly continue your advantage state, start a combo, maybe even outright kill your opponent. But what happens if our attack gets blocked or it misses? Could you get hit? Could you lose your advantage state? Could you be put into disadvantage state? Or even worse, could you die? We call this the risk-reward ratio. How much reward do you get for landing the attack, and how much risk are you putting yourself in if the attack doesn't work out? But it's impossible to talk about risk-reward without also talking about something else. If your opponent is looking out for a specific action, it's very unlikely that that action will work. This means that if you do that action, you're going to take on all of the risks with a very low chance of reaping the rewards. We call this chance the success percentage, and it increases and decreases according to what your opponent wants to do and what they think you will do. Now knowing what the risk-reward ratio is and what the success percentage is, we can talk about decisions and reads. Decisions are calculated actions that factor in risk-reward and success percentages. Risk-reward will determine the types of options you'll be using, while the success rate will determine the overall action that you'll take. The idea is to do an action that has the highest success rate while also having the most reward and also having the least risk. Every attack has risks associated with it. Asking for a riskless attack is like asking for Santa Claus to give you the presidency on a silver platter. But we can take actions that have a low chance of us getting punished if they whiff, or are hard to punish if they're blocked. Reads are high-risk actions that sometimes also don't factor in the success percentage. This is like trying to flip a coin over and over again when playing your match. The results are out of your hands and are in the hands of luck. Reads also don't have to be high reward either, since we often make reads that will result in the same things if we made a decision instead. So overall we want to be making more decisions, but at the same time there might come a time where you have to make a read. Maybe you might die if you don't, or maybe you'll win the game if that read works out. If you do make a read, that read should have a lot of reward behind it. Otherwise, you're just taking on a lot of unnecessary risk. As a rule of thumb, if you could have gotten the same thing off of a decision, then that read was probably not worth it. So remember, when you want to have more control over your match, try to make more calculated decisions instead of trying to win by flipping a coin over and over again with reads. But what makes a good decision? What makes a bad decision? What decision should I be making in this state? What decision should I be making in that state? These are all questions that take time to unpack and will have to be answered in later videos. Either way guys, thank you for watching. I know this video took much longer to get out, but we're going to try to get a consistent schedule up again. If you like this kind of content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you can know how to not suck at neutral.